Call to order the April 24th Folly Beach Design Review Board meeting. Motion for approval of March 20th minutes.
So moved. Second?
Ms. Burkett?
Yes.
We didn't do the roll call first.
Okay, should we do that first?
We should do that first.
Okay, go ahead.
Ms. Burkett?
Yes, here.
Mr. Fink? Mr. Kinter?
Yes.
Mr. Rideout? And Ms. Barton?
Here.
All right, now approval of minutes.
Motion.
I got the motions. Ms. Burkett?
Yes.
Mr. Kinter?
Yes.
And Ms. Barton?
Yes.
Okay.
We're going to stick in citizen comments.
Hold this while you speak.
Hello.
I'll have 6 copies, about 5. Okay, so it's on, I can just
So
speak.
you won't hear of yourself.
My name is John McFarland. I live at 1780 Chelwood Circle in Charleston. I also own commercial property and have for a couple decades now. I'm speaking about the proposed hotel project, 103 West Erie. I'd like to say that in all likelihood, this hotel will exist after it's approved for at least 50 years and maybe 100. So I think it's important to get it right. And I'll also like to add that in all likelihood, you will see a lot more of these applications in this area now that people can't put up 3 short-term rentals. We're likely to see a lot more micro hotels. So getting it right the first time and having it match everybody else is a good thing. I agree with Mr. Fink in his comments from last time. The building is not aesthetically consistent with the rest of the island, and I think some changes need to be made. It's been 3 months, and I'm sure you've been thinking about that as well. The building is contemporary, but I don't think it's classic, and I don't think it's going to age as well as it could. I see 2 problems. It's really angular, and there's a problem with the balconies. Let me start with the angular part. I have provided pictures. The first photo is actually the rework from what you suggested. It's busier, and I actually like the second one. So if we could turn to the second picture, which is the original that was submitted, I'd like to choose it. It has too many square edges. For instance, if you just round some of the corners, I think it would work a lot better. If you round these corners for these balconies and round this upper corner for whatever this thing is, a parapet or this cornice, you'll notice at the bottom of this thing, this black one in the middle, that it's curved
Yes.
right here. If the top were curved in the same way, it would work a lot better. I think rounding a lot of these edges would make a big difference. I only have a few minutes left, so I'm gonna go straight to what I think is the biggest problem, and it's the balconies. I think the balcony on the Erie side could probably be united, so it would look more like the balcony that faces Center Street. But the big problem with the balcony is everything is bitty, and I would
It's just a warning. Keep going.
direct you to the other pictures because I'm just about out of time unless you give me an extra minute or 2.
That's fine.
People, the architectures evoked the idea of Savannah hotels and New Orleans hotels. And I think the thing that was missed, and I don't think this will be hard to fix, is the balconies and the approach to the balconies. If you look at all of these pictures, you will see that the balconies not only have a more sophisticated railing, but it goes up and it goes across the top. If those things were added, it would make it look unbelievably different. Now, I'm not advocating these kind of railings. These are super elaborate, but just connecting the whole thing would be a big deal. And I think it would go a long ways to smoothing the rough edges. I'd like to say that the bottom, it looks great. It is very classic and it will age well. I don't like the square things, and once you make the changes to the top, the square lights would probably not be as appropriate. Those are my general comments, and I included something in print to match it. But the biggest thing is about the balconies. I really think if you add more cornice work to it, it'll bring the whole thing together. What you do with that middle section, if you curve it, I don't like the squares. I think scallops would work better or something. And my wife likes the original design better than the one that they actually added to. It's actually a little busier. Those are my general comments. Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, thank you. We're gonna start at the bottom, go to the top. Next item is 116 East Ashley, Kristen Richardson.
See what I got?
Sure.
Mike Warford, from 116 East Ashley, and Christy Richardson. Building has kind of looked the way it has for the last 20 years, and kind of we're shying away from the salmon and seafoam green look. And the bottom stucco is like a light pale blue, tough to tell from photos, but and then the chimney is also part of that color, and it's got sea turtles on it. So we'd like to go with a little bit bolder kind of a look. So we'd be going with the body, leaving the light blue along the stucco bottom, leaving the colors up the chimney. This would be your fascia and soffit. More arts and crafts, and it kind of, you know, might give the building a little bit more sex appeal than it does have right now.
Let's make a motion for accelerated review for the
Motion for accelerated review.
second.
Um,
Just curious, is that a window up there with some kind of?
It's actually a piece of stained glass.
Is it really?
And the plexiglass, when we're up there, we're finally gonna remove the plexiglass and replace it so that you can actually see the stained glass window again. And it does reflect some of
That's where
these
you got the colors?
also.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's gonna look really amazing.
Mike, what are y'all gonna do with the fence?
The fence is gonna stay natural. I'm gonna carry that light blue into the actual opening of the gate, because that's the only thing that's painted. And we don't wanna remove the, because it is very floral, and a lot of old vines that have been there for 20-some years growing through it. So we'd like to keep that the same. It kinda has a natural look to it.
Personally, I like it because I always think of that peachy color as kind of a flesh color.
It's played out.
Kind of blue.
Is that it? I think we're good.
Ms. Barton? Ms. Burkett?
Yes.
Mr. Kinter?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Next item is 16B Center Street, Chad Bauer.
Yes, sir.
I was gonna butcher it, so.
Good evening, Mr. Kenner, Ms. Barton, and Ms. Burkett. My name is Samuel. I work at Slice. I'm here representing
See you guys.
Mr. Bauer,
Thanks.
who's out of town right now. But this is a simple request, just to change the on the building. That's actually the design right there.
Scottish. Motion for accelerated review for the awning changes.
So moved.
Any questions? I assume it's going like this, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Ready?
I think we're good.
Ms. Burkett?
Yes.
Ms. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Kinter?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, appreciate it. Next item is 11 Center Street, Chad Billings.
Just in case there's some color questions, these are the actual samples
Thanks.
as shown on the side. And then I did bring, while it's not up for conversation, the color, the exact color that was already approved for the roof, which
Okay.
is the.
Oh, yeah, we were
Yeah,
wondering
yeah.
about that.
That was the
There was
one
a
that we
question
thought it
that
was
came
brown.
up- There's a question that came up last time, and I just dropped these off just for
Yeah, it's a
conversation.
little more
Yeah.
red. Oh, yeah.
This matches exactly,
Yeah.
well, I shouldn't say exactly, but is close to what was already approved for existing
Yeah,
color.
that's definitely a different color. from-
Yeah, we're away from the red, white, and blue, kind of a little bit more
Thank
patriotic
you, I
look.
appreciate
So,
that.
Yeah.
In case there was any confusion as to what those colors were, the swatches are there as well.
Who wants the swatches?
I have a second copy.
No, I
I
just,
don't,
we
I
can
don't
share.
remember the color tones off the top of my head, if you both need to, or if everyone needs to kind of share those.
Let's make a motion for accelerated review for.
Oh, I do have
exterior
one
paint job.
question.
Yes, ma'am.
This is pure white, but it's muted, right?
The pure white
This
is the
appears to
color.
be
That
muted.
is the color. I mean, that's what they
Okay.
call it. It's not me who's calling it out.
Yeah,
but
it's more creamy.
it does have
Okay.
a creamier
Got it.
context to it. And it actually has little notes of red, beige, and blue
Right.
in the color swatch that are kind of buried.
Did we make a motion for accelerated?
No, we do not. So moved.
We just had, that, we're
Okay, I'm sorry.
just supposed to do that
I
before
wasn't paying
discussion.
attention.
You all have any questions?
I'm good.
Yeah, I think it's nice.
Yeah, it's nice. I think a creamier. Wait, is this pure white?
It's just the color.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with context. It just, it looks completely white when you're out in the sunlight. It just gives you a little bit of backdrop as the shade comes in.
And
Not
then,
be staunch white as a piece of paper. Those were on it from before. It was
Okay.
never brought up, but those are the downlighting that are there. They're being replaced with that particular product, so they shine straight up and straight down.
yeah, that's
They don't
good.
cast any side shadow.
Turtle safe.
There's sconces that are in place right now, and they're damaged and need to be retooled, so some of those, on the best way to explain it is on those columns that exist,
Right.
those will be replaced
Yeah.
there versus the sconces that are damaged and some are just not replaceable.
I have one question. After this, are there any other approvals that we'll need to do? I think, okay,
The construction drawings themselves have all been approved.
Okay.
The paint color came back since the building traded and there's a new owner.
okay.
We're rebranding, new concept, all of that, and this does not fit the current Irish pub theme.
Well, yeah.
The new ownership does not fit that particular concept.
You want a motion for-
Yeah, we did, we made a motion for accelerated.
Yeah.
Any other questions? We're ready?
Ms. Barton? Oh, yes. Ms. Burkett?
Yes.
Mr. Kinder?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thanks a lot.
All right, thank you for your time.
Here, this is yours back.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
And your roof too.
I was gonna use this.
Anything you would like, I'm more than happy to
Cut
leave.
up things.
Thank you for being patient and
We could-
such a good sport about it. Appreciate it.
We could store all that stuff in Jenna's office.
I got more to bring her.
Next item is Synchronicity 103 West Erie Avenue. Sorry we, said you were gonna be first and then you ended up being last.
It's okay.
But that was in 14 minutes.
Yeah, that's
I mean, you know.
amazing.
Great. Well, good evening. My name is Todd Richardson. I'm land planner and landscape architect with Synchronicity. I have also with me tonight who you will hear from, project architect Luke Jarrett. Our team, we have Tiff Mitchell, who's the property owner, and then our legal counsel, Spencer Wetmore, who helped us with the rezoning and the legal work on the parcel. So we're back in front of you tonight. We were here in January, and it's great to see you all again. We've really enjoyed this project a lot. Just a refresher, this is on the corner of West Erie and Center Street, and it's a parcel that's just under an acre. What we're proposing is a low slung 2-story. This used to be a much taller parcel in a previous life. So we have a quaint little 10-room inn above an integrated restaurant. Our most contextual project example is the Post House in Mount Pleasant, which we did in the historic Old Village. 7-room inn with a restaurant and a patio. So very similar. In fact, this is shorter than that is. So we're really excited to be back here. We are requesting preliminary with consideration for final. We took notes and agreed with some of your comments from last time, integrated those into a revised design. So we're very excited to present that to you tonight. So I'm going to turn this over to Luke now, and I'll be here to answer any questions you may have on my side of this. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Thank you all very much for having us back. I'm Luke Jarrett, as Todd mentioned, and I think what I'd like to do is just kind of take you through some of the elements of this building that are different than the previous submittal and explain sort of where we wanted to go. We got some great comments in the last round, and I think for us, the ones that sort of landed the most were that we needed to, work harder on our sort of corner element, that it wasn't really doing enough to be cool like Folly, and that there was a little concern about the balconies that we had proposed being sort of very similar across the front. And then I believe the third one was the wall behind the balconies also, it was reading a little flat in our initial design. So we got back in and we sort of made a few revisions to the design. Really, the bulk of the changes are with the balcony structures and the element on the corner. I think I'll start with that. We are proposing to use for our corner element a metal panel in a fish scale pattern made by ATOS. I've got a copy of, or a sample of it right here. It's kind of neat the way these things stack up. They're really nice, and it's got we don't have it on the back right now, but it has a insulation layer on the back also. But they sort of nest. Actually, it's upside down. It goes like that. Yeah, they sort of nest as they go up, and they create that pattern. And then we're looking at our colors, and we had ordered color samples, but they didn't get in before our last submittal, and we actually got the metal color samples. The green sort of tone that we were looking at last time, when we got the samples in, the greens weren't the same as really what we had expected them to be, and so we thought the blues were a lot more striking. Thanks, sorry.
Oh, they're clipped here.
The blues are a lot more striking.
This is not the color, just.
So we proposed them. Now again, this is not a set in stone, but what we'd like to do is to have a color combination of these panels that sort of works, sort of filters in and gives a lot of movement and rhythm. You'll see the fish scale pattern, but also it's a dynamic and fun thing. Previously, if you remember, we were sort of fading them from top to bottom, but we decided that we'd really like to bring it more towards the point in the corner to kind of emphasize that corner. And I think it's a nice composition. It really draws attention to that corner element, which is where our entrance is, which is where we really want to pull people's eyes to.
So one of these is folded.
Sorry?
Right? One of these is folded
They
right down
can
the corner.
cut, yeah, like when they get to the edges, they can trim them off.
Right, okay.
To make them up, and there's a little corner trim piece,
Oh, I see.
on it, but we were able to kind of blend that in so you can't really see it. So it's the same metal, it's the same colors. So that vertical, the corners of these, it has a little trim piece that goes over the outside of the corners.
Okay.
And it worked really well with our new kind of concept where we pushed to the corner with the colors. That way we could use one single color trim strip and you wouldn't see it at all.
Right.
Because really the fish scale pattern is what we're hoping to, hammer down. It's really cool. And we're using that fish scale pattern to demonstrate areas where this building could be approached from the outside, like an inside-outside part. We've got another spot on the side of the building I'll show you as well. So we simplified the construction. We made it a little bit taller, and we made the building poke up a little bit past. We wanted to have a little cornice for a nice shadow line. We made the building poke up a little taller past that. I think it gives it a little bit of presence, and we feel like it's a lot more Folly. I think it's really helpful to kind of get into the some of these renderings are really fun because we have the previous submittal and the current submittal on them. And you can kind of see I think P102 and 103 are really fun. Sorry, 101 and 102 are really fun. And you can see, P102 is where we were last time, and P103 today. So it's got a little more presence in it. It's not, one of the concerns that we got from some of the comments that we got were, we needed to just work a little harder to give this building a little more rhythm and a little bit more differentiation so it wasn't, so blocky. So we think that we thought that was a pretty successful way to do that. We've also got, if you're on P101, you can see the edge of this element. We've got like kind of a sloped, angled sort of bracket detail on either side. It's kind of filled in on the center element, but we're also picking that up on our balconies in a simplified detail as well. So it's just a very long, simple bracket to kind of frame the fish scale portion, and then the rest of our balconies use a similar, but it's just the outline of the edges of it. So then moving out from there, and I think it works really well to stay on this sheet and look at the before and after of the porch along Center Street. So what we did was we tried to get a little more vertical element to these porches, and we've expressed the post as it moves up. So instead of moving up and stopping at the balcony and then starting again and going up, we thought it was a lot more elegant if it left the ground and just kind of rose up, and then it flared a little at the top to carry the roof line. And I think you can really tell that there's a lot more vertical differentiation. The building's a little leaner and a little more elegant, I think, as a result of that. So that was another place that we made a modification, again, to just make the building express it vertically a little bit more. And then a third one here, as we can see on P101, that's another great sheet. You can see where we've articulated, what we've done is at the center line of each balcony element, we have a little jump in the roof line, just really simple, nothing too crazy. We just move up an extra course or two with the wall, and but it does it's really successful in giving just a little bit of rhythm across the top of the building, a little bit of interest, and it helps break up the run a little bit. I mean, it's not a big building, but I think it was really strong comments in the last meeting, and we felt like by integrating some of those, we got something that is a lot cooler, definitely more Folly in our opinion, and it's a little more elegant and a little more of a clean design. So we're really, really happy with where we are with this one. I'm going to try and just flip through a couple more pages. We also revised, let's see, I think if you go to P108, that's the one, 107 and 108. 108 is where we were last time. We have a little court sort of down the left side of our building there. And yeah, so if you go to 108 on the screen, you'll see we had a little bit of a different detail there. It's a lower detail, and we had some light fixtures, and we thought, as we were beginning to try to make the building, again, have a little bit more of a vertical nature at a good scale, we've redesigned that element a little bit to bring the panels up a little higher. It helps with the massing, and it kind of, and then simplified the little details and the overhangs on that side. So what we're thinking is, the primary entrance is going to be on the right. It's under the elevated portion. But this side over here, we're thinking people maybe flowing in and out of that door into the downstairs restaurant area. Maybe we can have, some seats or something like that along the left side. So it's not a main entrance to the building, but it is an entrance. And so, we wanted to use that same vocabulary with the panels. And then, and as I mentioned several times, just draw it up a little bit, make it a little bit more vertical. We think it's a pretty clean look. I guess I also didn't mention, like, to move this proportion massing, we also changed the window configuration, the window design on the main element. We thought maybe a little taller, thinner window with three segments in it, again, would get us that cleaner look, and it's a really nice. These are all supposed to be Sierra Pacific windows, which are nice. Downstairs, it's pretty similar. We've changed the colors a little bit, but we're still envisioning the same kind of panelized approach. And those are the differences between and last time. Did I miss any? So, we're really happy with the composition. We think it's really headed in the right direction. Really glad to be here in front of you all this evening, so thank you very much. We'll be happy to take any questions.
Thanks. Let's make a motion for preliminary.
So moved.
I mean, I, looking at the difference between last time and this time, I think you're definitely right about it looks fun now.
Yeah, it does.
This was
Yeah. Kind of,
Ion downtown,
The new design's better, I think.
yeah,
It was good feedback.
and, I mean, I think the flared columns with the bracket, you know, do a good job of dressing up
yeah.
the proportion of those porches. Would you, I mean, I kind of like the break in the balconies, and would you address John's comment about the difference between if they were the whole way down the side of the building, or if there's a break on that right side?
Do you mean on the side closest, on the Erie Ave side?
Right.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah, well, so Center Street is our primary facade, and this is our, this is our big shot facade. Erie is secondary. And we've got a vocabulary where we are having guest rooms on the upper floors, and each of the guest rooms can have a nice balcony to use. And we felt that if we were to connect all the balconies down the right-hand side of the building, the Erie Avenue side, that the mass would become very substantial and very heavy, and it may draw the focus away from the Center Street facade, which is not what we wanted to do. So we thought by just using one single bay first, and then a gap, and then picking up, that would give us that separation, make the facade not, I think the 3 balconies across the front is about as many as you'd want to have all in a row before it would get a little bit too balcony-y, in my opinion, and you'd lose some of that. So we did that to keep the massing smaller on that side, to draw the focus towards the Center Street facade, but to keep them all speaking the same language, but to let it, you can look at this and you can see, oh, okay, I got it. Like this is the cluster that's the sort of the front cluster, and then back there is a secondary cluster. And then as you get to the other side of the building, we've got that in that same location where those 3 bays are on the Erie Street side. On our courtyard side, we have a narrower balcony that does that too. It's just, they're in the background a little bit.
John, we also have a requirement for the breaking up of facades and lines. It doesn't necessarily apply to porches and decks in terms of their continuity. It's more just like a general thing that.
And to kind of
Another break.
hit that one more
No,
time.
we're
I've
talking
Yeah,
about
look at
the-
this here, yeah.
Yeah.
I like
We've got a
that.
streetscape elevation in here where we're able to pick up the building across. Yeah, you can see it in sheet I-101. And then it's in our rendering also. It sort of shows up a little bit in P107, which is, but basically, right across Erie from us is a long building with a balcony that runs the entire way down the side. And we think that, this approach it just gives it a little bit more character and differentiation. And that was really our big takeaway from our first meeting, the comments that we got and the feedback that we got. Everyone seemed to be wanting to make sure that we didn't end up doing something that was gonna be just long and sort of plain and straight.
Right.
That's how we ended up there.
It looks like you've either pushed back the face of the corner element, or maybe just the fins stick out to differentiate that plane, or what is?
That's correct, yes. So in the initial concept, we had a heavier sort of border around that, as you're talking about the border around the vertical element on the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were using like a wider, thicker sort of piece there, a trim piece, to separate the materials. And that was one of the things that when we were restudying to try to give it a little bit more elegance, I think, going to a narrower profile. It's still a little heavier on the bottom beneath our awning, but as it goes up, it gets a little thinner, to kind of make it look a little bit more graceful.
What do you think about I don't mind, to me, this is Folly I wouldn't call it modern, but it's not traditional, or at least it's not as much as it was with the enlarged, cornice with a single cove, which, that's definitely what's going on downtown.
I think it's a lot
kinda
better now.
developed. So, what do you think about the rectilinear nature of that upper part? I like the curve, the lower curve
I do too.
all by itself, cause it stands out so much. I don't know if I would, the top thing, I think it looks pretty cool up there. Now that you've added that little, that parapet wall up above, it's kinda like got a little hat on it,
Yeah,
which is nice.
it's just kind of rising up a
Kind
little
of
bit.
finishes it a little.
Should that upper part be the same fish scales?
We thought so. We thought so
Okay.
because we thought it sort of has a natural upward sort of flow to it. And I think that by having it pass through the one because that's going to throw a nice little shadow edge and it's going to make the fish scales look interestingly beneath it. And I think that it's rising up. It just sort of makes it a little bit more optimistic, kind of a little more fun, I think.
Right.
So we like them up there. We looked at it both ways. The problem is that the fish scale is such a strong architectural material. It's really cool. If we have something in the same plane and we go to a different material, it deadens that top a lot, and I think it kind of starts to look a little bit like what we were trying to get away from.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. And so, yeah, that's how we got there.
And the flower boxes do help.
Yeah, we would load this thing up with some green. It's going to be beautiful.
So we would expect y'all to take care of those.
That's a
They
big
have
part
to
of
be
it.
fresh all the time.
It's a big part. We are working on that one right now. Luckily we get to do the landscape architecture as well, and we're counting that as the flower boxes.
So this is almost the same color as two doors down now.
That was the panels. Now, this is,
The
this
corner.
is this,
Right.
one of the colors of the scales, right? Right now for preliminary, we're basically looking at the more specific, configuration
Right.
of the thing, but yeah, color.
Just a thought.
It looks like the railings and the, what's it called under the porch beam?
I don't know what that's called either.
No one knows what
To
it's
break
called.
this, yeah, to break the scale of the downstairs up a little bit.
Oh, like a soffit?
It's
No,
like
it's
this
not
little,
really
it's like a
Yeah, it looks
string,
like a-
I can't-
I mean, it's
There's
not
a-
a soffit, but it
looks
you know.
like
It's sort of like a fascia that's got, perforations in it. What we wanted to do was have the same detail above and below the balcony edge. So that will look like, basically like the guardrails above, the same proportion, the same spacing, the same material, same color.
And then it's got a stripe through it. It's powder coated aluminum, is that?
That one, we're working on the actual material of these balconies. There will be a painted metal, whether we're
Okay.
gonna try and do them out of aluminum or, a painted galvanized. I'd like
Oh,
to do
sure.
aluminum, it's gonna be a lot lighter. Yeah, like a little stripe of detail.
As far as the relationship between above and below the floor here, is that right there, which we don't know what to call it, and the railing, the same?
Yes.
Is this like, okay. that's what
Yeah,
you're saying.
it's sort of supposed to kind of thicken that up a little bit.
So it's,
So this is gonna be the same as the actual rail then?
Yeah, the
Okay.
same space and the same pickets and all.
Okay.
Um,
I thought the last time that the rigid-ish kind of geometry of the storefront windows stood out a lot, but it doesn't anymore. you just made them taller, right?
They're the same size.
Okay,
We just have a little bit more graceful design around them, I think.
right, right.
Yeah. I don't wanna say that our first attempt was, I mean, this is conceptual, you know, it's a strong conceptual, but this design is definitely doing more, and I think it does make the ground floor. It was a great comment to try and get those columns to kind of go up a little bit. I think that really sort of was the trigger.
Yeah, I mean, the fact, I think, yeah. I kind of like the difference in the center street. I mean, because you're looking at it from there, which is 107. It definitely takes away from the symmetry. Takes away from the symmetry.
That's the center street.
Yeah, so that side thing, I think, really works. The fact that it's basically a two-story element over there is cool. And then the balcony's the same but different.
Yeah, I really like the way that the flare
Yeah.
pointed up.
Could you talk about the center column a little bit in that, is it a flared pediment on top? Is it kind of rectilinear? I'm just curious, is it,
You mean the porch columns?
no, right there, the center one at this one.
Oh, yeah. That's right, that one, we wanted it to just be a little different than the other ones, and yeah, and wanted to kind of flare at the top. You see that sometimes with a little bit of like ornamentation on it, but we think it just would look super cool, because this whole thing is kind of doing that. you
Right.
know? And so that's what that column is doing. So
Okay.
it have very minimal ornamentation on it. It should have a, pretty simple flare at the top.
I see.
Does it have a boot on it? I don't think that one has a little boot on it. Let me make sure.
And it's got the same, it basically has the same
Oh, it
base.
does. It has a little
railing
boot at the
height
bottom
flare.
of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That picks up the same line along the top of, or the bottom of the storefront kind of segments. Yeah, you can see it in A201 pretty well.
The breaks give you a fresh air.
Yeah, I like
Instead
the,
of, this is the primary, then we got this one, and then you take this, you can imagine it going all the way around, right?
you
This
just
one,
have
if you're looking
everything.
for this one, for example, that went all the way around, it's cool.
It'd just be it'd just be straight.
I have a question on that.
If you imagined it being the same over here, which just be overwhelming on that corner, because
Yeah.
this is where you're gonna, most of the look is gonna be right there. This is a lot of porch.
Yeah.
So, are these heavier right here?
I think they flare back out.
Yeah.
I think the columns flare back out at the thing that we don't know what the name of it is below
The thingy,
the screen.
Yeah, there'll be
drop
a
screen.
like a little trim band around the column,
okay.
just to sort of give that screen something to kind of stop on top of,
Yeah.
We're trying really hard to,
It kind of matches the profile of the W section, right?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, the other thing it does is, all the houses that are really raised, that have nothing underneath, they look like they're sitting on top of air.
Yeah,
That actually helps make it a little more enclosed together.
yeah.
It's not so stark.
It makes a big difference, and the human scale of it too. Yeah, when a person stands there and it's 12 feet, that's just too tall,
Right.
So,
What's the texture of the main part of the building? Is it just
Oh, yeah.
stucco?
yeah. So what we're proposing is to do. So the building will be designed to be just a long-term, building that's gonna perform really well. So we'd like to use a CMU wall exterior, all cells filled, and clad it with a traditional, like a Portland cement stucco, which will age really, really nicely. Something simple and neutral, in the whites, but, I think that'll be good. It's like a smooth finished stucco, a real Portland cement stucco, not like an EPIS or a,
Right, right.
and so, should last, forever.
We're not having hurricanes anymore. Cancel it.
Not at all.
And also, one last thing I'd just like to point out, we did add a sheet to the set to kind of contextualize the size of our building with the neighbors.
Oh, interesting.
It's a lot,
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
to show you, like, we've got a
Oh,
cute,
yeah, the 203.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's really cute. We just got a cute little building,
What pages?
Getting lost in it, it's in the 200s, I believe. Yeah, it's,
203, right?
Yeah.
yeah, there it is, 203. So, we just spent a little time kind of getting some measurements from the buildings around us, and I think that really gives you a great idea. We're not a big building, it's gonna be Folly scaled, human scaled, and neat.
Yeah, I mean, one really nice thing about a building there is the most, well, I guess back there, the most striking thing when you go down Center Street is the extended firewall parapet of
Yeah.
this building, right?
Yeah.
Because it has a very odd
Yeah.
shape.
We thought there was something wrong with our sketch up before. I saw it, I'm like, hey,
It's definitely like overbearing. I mean, it'd be cool with a big mural on it or
Yeah.
something, but,
Yeah. We'll
but
take that
now,
out and play.
I mean, I like this, I know we're in preliminary, but I like to switch to the blue partially because this building just went green.
Yeah, you're right.
Which is kind of the similar green that you were toying with in the first one.
I like the blues.
Yeah.
I think blues are pretty.
Y'all have anything else? Think we're ready?
Ms. Barton? Ms. Burkett?
Yes.
Mr. Pinter?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thanks y'all very much.
What's next? Do you want me to make a motion for final?
We ready?
We've got colors,
Details.
light fixtures.
Anyway, yeah.
I don't remember seeing a stucco color. Did I miss it?
I
Uh,
don't see it either.
Let's see, I don't think we have an actual stucco finish color specified, no, it's.
we have it in the white range. We haven't picked the exact white, but the intent is to be in a white or a very soft gray.
I see now in that it looks like you want it to be different than this color.
Correct.
Yes,
Correct.
but not as the previous application, not stark paper white. Something with a slight patina.
Did we make-
No, we didn't.
I'll make a motion for,
Final,
final.
second.
Can you go ahead and vote on that?
A discussion, I guess we'll have discussion for final. Would you talk about the wall-mounted exterior light fixtures? And they are, I'm looking for the page.
A502?
502.
That's the one next to it. my screen.
The 180 degrees. It's going on these next time. Oh, wait, 502?
Yes,
24?
there is a natural brass finish. We thought it was a nice kind of nautical look. It's gonna hold up really well and it'll patina as it ages. And the goal is to have the chandelier in the same metal range. Now, the chandelier will likely need to be something we have made. That's obviously kind of too tall for what we're thinking, but it's a similar shape to that. That's an actual product.
It's round to match the curve on the outside,
Yes,
right?
and it sort of cascades a little bit like that, but I think that where that one's extruded, ours is our final one, which we would be very happy to, to obviously come in and have cut sheets and get final approval from staff.
I think we're gonna take a certain electric company about that.
Oh, right.
They're North Charleston, they're a great fabricator.
Yes. So we thought the ceiling fans down there should all be kind of a neutral gray, black, and then the light fixtures all along the first floor would be a natural,
To be the brass.
yeah, the brass finish.
Okay, so you got the letters, the light fixtures, the pipe holding the letters, and the center light fixture and the wall mounted fixtures are the brass kind of jewelry on the front.
Yeah.
Right.
So I see ceiling fans on the porches.
Yeah, they're kind
Oh,
Black.
sorry, okay, yeah,
And they're on that
So they'll be
bottom
black.
pile on the screen.
Sorry.
There we go, yeah, so it's simple, it's kind of a minimal ceiling fan, we want to use black on the bottom floor and then white on the
White.
second floor, so that
Okay.
it'll stand out.
Okay, the top floor looks white and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
We're trying to keep the upper porches very light.
What are the ceiling finishes and texture?
There's a panel
I
on that,
forgot about it.
yeah, it's that seam panel, it's all in the same metal family.
Oh, it's the ATAS
Yes.
wall
it's
panel
wall
solid.
panels, yeah.
And they're in this gray.
That, the panel's color for under there is a lighter, it's not the same gray as we're using in the building. And then
So it's definitely different than all
Yeah.
the steel, right?
it's
silly.
different than that, and I think we had darn it, that color's not in this, I'm so sorry. The color's not in this package, but it was a warmer,
I mean, do you want to pull any of the color out of the middle for those?
it was,
Maybe,
it was a little bit of a warmer color, so it wasn't designed to look like so the jewelry of the building is kind of this brass.
yeah,
And the soffits on that, only on that upper part, we thought would be like a warmer gray with a little bit of yellow in it maybe. And I've got a material sample panel that the color, we have a color swatch and it didn't get put in, I'm so sorry.
that's all right.
But, yeah, we want it to be a little different from the wall, and also it's always going to be in shadow because it's just on the underside, so, pretty fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think lighter under there is definitely, so you can see the,
Yeah. And the same color would be
Steel.
on the first floor underneath the
Sure.
circular porch. That color and the color up at the second step to the roof there. Those are those two colors we thought. And those are both the same panel. So we want to run the panel at an angle so that we got like this corner. One of these renderings sort of shows this detail.
are you
Yeah,
gonna
you
turn
can
the
see-
line of those?
Yeah, if you go to P101, and look at the underside of the ceiling of that awning, like, we want to have those set at 45 degrees to the building. It's hard to see in that, but you can
Right
see it in
here?
your printouts, yeah, no, like here. So these are,
Oh, I see 'em.
they run straight towards us, so that
Okay.
there's not like a break in them.
Right,
And then, those ceilings
And
up
then
there
here-
are,
they're just gonna be
White.
parallel with the
Yeah.
length of the building kind of thing?
yeah, those ones, exactly, those ones run back to front. I think that those might even be, I feel like we call those out as a ply bead, like a beaded ceilings, to be a little different.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, those are called out as beaded ply.
It seems like they would add a little bit of warmth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where the people go, yeah.
But yeah, because this panel makes a lot of sense for
Right.
that's a commercial entrance.
Yeah.
That's right.
But those ceilings,
So
they're
the-
cool to have.
Balcony ceilings of the guest rooms on sheet A302, where we have our wall section, we've got those called out as, so it's plywood wall running perpendicular to the building for that exact same reason, to just make it softer and a little bit more human, scaled up there. So that'll be the ceilings for the balconies on the second floor. Page A302, so the building section, the wall section.
I know, I mean,
We toyed at it, but we thought it would pull a little bit away. That might work. That color's not bad, but
Bluish, gray, grayish blue, whatever, yeah.
Yeah, we were trying to really not take away from the emphasis of the colors on the tiles. Because we use a Sherwin-Williams color called Soar for our paint blue.
Oh, they actually have a color called that?
Yes,
I didn't know that.
oh yeah, they figured it out.
but we did like the wood texture of the plywood.
Yeah.
Whether that's pressure treated or marine grade and further.
Mhm.
Our total package here is really resilience and maintenance. That's the other thing too. We wanted to make sure this was easy to clean, put up with the salt environment, the tendency to go to humid, mildew, those things. We're really trying to think about an extended life cycle on this building.
all that stainless is gonna be really expensive.
Oh, not stainless. If we use stain, no, we wouldn't paint that. I think aluminum is the way to go. When we've been talking with some contractors about some pricing options, and I think the weight of them, is a real advantage to aluminum, and it's less corrosion.
It's just gonna weld all up, or are you gonna express or expose any bolts?
No, so when we do these here, these balconies will be designed and fabricated and built completely off-site in a
Okay.
facility and brought in.
Right,
The details design, we're gonna have plates mounted in the building, so they're just literally gonna get clipped on the front of the building and, bolted in.
sure,
Have the columns in that way, because the big trick there is, when you bring them up to the site pre-finished, it's really, you gotta be careful, because every time someone chips one of them, or, that you lose your membranes. But, so the roof on these would be built on the top of them, but, yeah, all the part that's metal would just show up on a truck.
right. I mean, it's kinda cool over time with a repetitive paint, which is
It's thick.
semi-inevitable. It rounds the edges
Yeah.
and drips depending on who's doing it, runs.
Yeah.
What do you doing on the little tiny soffit lights?
Around the outside edge?
Yeah, aren't they?
So those are, the little circles?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those aren't lights, those are our venting for our soffits up there. We thought, so those.
Oh, you're venting that porch roof.
Yeah, so we
Okay, cool.
pattern them and cut them in, and then they, just have a simple drop-in circle. It's a neat shape. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
We were thinking that, and I think it's in here, we would like to do lighting in a little around the front element.
Rope?
Yeah, like an LED that basically frames out the sides of that. Put in a little channel detail,
Sure.
and
I mean, it could sit on the bottom of your W section.
yeah, it would look really pretty at night and soft, and that's the lighting that we're gonna have, other than the sconces and the chandelier in the front. That's the
And they'll
lighting.
be black.
I didn't see the lighting.
Sorry.
I didn't see anything in the lighting.
Oh, for the LEDs around the
Right,
house?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't see them at all. You know, we put them in a little cove off the side, so
Or roll it, kind of like,
Yeah.
you know, long.
they don't
Yeah.
show up in the scale, these rendering exports, but.
That's okay, I understand
Yeah,
what
but
you're
like,
talking about.
there's a little cove that you put them in so that you don't
Oh,
ever
yeah.
see them, they're in a shadow all the time,
Right.
and then, you know, they just turn on, and they just kind of lightly wash the shapes. Because these panels are gonna look so neat with their little fish scales and their profiles, with the really flat horizontal light coming across them, it'll be really cool.
Are you thinking about soffit lighting the center? Are you gonna downlight any of that, or?
We've got lights, we got the chandelier underneath, but, oh, you mean like lights on the,
Up top?
Up.
no, I don't think,
Okay,
I
good.
think it's, you know, like, just a little bit of, just a little light, you know, because the
Right.
street down here at night, you know, when it's hopping, is so vibrant and cool, and,
Pretty light.
yeah, we're trying to play like, just a little cool, understated.
Yeah.
I think the building itself is gonna be neat, so. We did one over in Avondale, it's called The Victory.
Oh,
Have
yeah,
seen it?
did
The
you
big
guys do
pink-
Victory?
Yeah, yeah,
All
and
right.
we got to
Yeah.
put a big, I love
Yeah.
that neon light, but, I
Yeah.
don't think that this one was right for that.
Well, that's a little different.
Yeah, but, they wouldn't let me do a big neon light here. Yeah, that's another way to do it.
Would you talk about these, did you talk about the wall sconces? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so they're just rectangular brass wall sconces. Pretty
I think-
simple bulbs, not gas, and just really kind of a clean box, you know, minimal.
I mean, to me, it looks like they match the geometry of the porches and whatnot.
Yeah, it
Um,
is.
I think when
They're
you look
big.
at some of these pictures, they do look big.
They,
Do
yeah,
you know how big
that's,
they are?
they're gonna be 24 inches, I think, at least. That's one of the places that they need to be big. People don't realize that, you know, sconces, once you put them on a wall, they look really small, so.
Right.
Yeah, since this is a commercial building and we really wanna kind of, you know, have them have a lot of good presence there, yeah, that would be that's the size of them.
There's,
probably.
I mean, there's
24
just 4 of them.
There's
here.
4 across the front, and then we have,
There's
they're
seven.
basically, like, they're in the same locations,
Yeah.
based on the balconies everywhere.
Okay.
So there's basically 1 lamp per column.
And all the fans are downlighted?
No lights in the fans.
Okay.
Yeah. They're just really simple.
What do you? Do you want to say something about the landscaping?
Thanks. Sounds fun being a spectator.
Messing up the set.
So, sheet L100 shows what's existing. We have 2 palm trees along center. And then if you go to the next page, L400, that is our planting plan, and then the next page is L600, the plant schedule. So, we're providing serviceable parking in the rear. We wanted to flank that entrance with 2 small live oaks, so 2 small southern live oaks. And then when you come into the parking lot, we were able to have a palm tree. And the first island, we wanted still a relatable scale and still play off Folly vibe, so palm it up where we could. And then we have 3 palms along the back, along with a buffer up against the municipal neighbor. We have, it's a box with an X in the rear, that's where we're gonna have our grease trap along with our refuse, trash and recycling will all be nestled back there with a very nice screen, which will be a masonry wall with gates that matches our wall that frames the courtyard on the side. The courtyard's really exciting. It's a very similar scale to the courtyard we did at Melfi's downtown on Upper King Street. So it's a great courtyard to come in. We're envisioning maybe some morning coffee and things at the side access to the restaurants. We wanted to flank that with a little bit of planting. Obviously, we have the nice architectural details. And then come into a quaint little courtyard with groups of planters. So we're going to select some really nice ceramics, mix of terracottas and glazed, throw in some color, some texture. And then as you work down a rhythm, offsetting of seating and planting and seating and planting, and then somewhat of a living room setting in the back, nestled with some more tropical plants and planters there. So we're really going to tropical it up here. Variation in leaves, and really get some glossies and get some color. We really want to take that chance. We really only have 2 shots at landscaping here, just with all the other things that we need to do. So the courtyard's really going to set off that character, and then we have the backyard to kind of nestle with the buffer. Where we get to make it up are all the planters along the building balconies, and we're going to work in where we sensibly can. As much lush seasonal color really is a great entry statement. We would love to do more outside of our boundary, but that is not really our area to play in. We do want to continue a conversation with the DOT to see if we can help to improve that area on Center Street. I mean, there's a little on Center we could improve, but really along West Erie, there's an opportunity there to do something, and we would like to. But we have to ask permission, of course, to do that.
I mean, that street itself is in pretty bad shape.
Yes, it really is. And unfortunately, a lot of our barrier islands that are SCDOT maintained, I use that very loosely, are just left, and they don't do anything. They take our tax dollars, but they really don't redistribute them.
So the paving changes down the side, it looks like kind of a 45-degree angle, large format paver or something like that?
Yes, so the goal there is to do.
Oh, I see, it's bluestone.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, and I wanted to do that on the diagonal to create a little bit of interest, but also in very large pieces. So we really wanted to add, pick up on the blue hues that we had vertically, horizontally,
Right.
but do that obviously in a washed, understated color of bluestone, and then have that a very consistent flooring going throughout. Permeable joints, still helping with our stormwater, and then in the back we'll have pervious pavers for the parking area to help with our stormwater requirements.
And then underneath the porches, I'm sorry.
Underneath the porches, right now, we have that called as concrete to flow with the sidewalk. We're open to opportunities there if we were to pave. We really wanted to make the courtyard a jewel. We just felt like when we get into food service, it's a more manageable surface to have the concrete.
I see.
We're not opposed to going to something decorative. If we
We wanted to feel like the sidewalk goes right up to the front of our building.
Oh, I see what you're
The
saying.
whole point is to make it kind of feel like anyone can just come through here and it's really nice. So it doesn't really feel like you're on someone else's lot.
right.
So it's just flushed
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
same,
Yeah, so
regular
when we,
concrete.
in January, we talked about some examples from Magazine Street in New Orleans, Main Street in Savannah, with similar picture that was shown. That expansion of the sidewalk really makes the public realm just sing, really opens it up and it breathes. When we've had projects before, we've had to denote and break up the painting, it feels smaller, paving, it feels smaller, which is weird. So this really helps it just open up.
Put all the stuff that's on those sidewalks on your
Or
bench.
the good parts.
Match existing.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, the cap and the coping for our wall is also bluestone. So we have a running bond of that, which is a very simple, subtle touch to finish that stucco wall. Just a little strip of bluestone right at the top. So we have the floor, finish the wall. It all starts to tie in and pull color and material throughout. Yeah, those details you'll find are on sheet L930. That's hardscape details. You can see there we've got CMU wall with stucco, color matched building.
I remember seeing
Bluestone.
that. as you go down the side, it's just open to that back area, right?
There's a wall in the back that terminates, are you talking about the courtyard?
No, on the side over here from the,
We have a wall, the wall runs, this is driveway.
yeah, it's just going in,
Yes.
and then that's just open.
It's open because for sight distance, we wanted to make sure people could see as they exited. So
Right.
we just put the palm tree here, and on the landscape plan, I don't know if you have that, as you kind of side by side them.
You don't have,
There it is. Yeah. So I wanted to leave, so we have a ground cover, and I just
Okay.
wanted to leave the opportunity to look out before
yeah,
you
so
came out.
this is well treed right there, right?
Yeah, and then this, we extended the wall to come here to terminate the parking lot this way. That
Yeah.
ties in and wraps, it's the same material for the trash enclosure. But I didn't want to run the
That
wall in the
is,
back.
that's all, that's trash.
Yes, sir, trash
One
and
way
grease trap.
in,
Right,
one way.
okay.
This is not accessible then here.
No, it
Okay.
is not. There's a weird alley
Yeah,
condition here.
Yeah,
But at the back, I wanted to soften it and not wall it in. Didn't want it to feel like a compound, so that's where we just came with a nice variable vegetative buffer here. Thought that would breathe better, and it works as the palms go up, elevates it.
yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for including me.
We almost forgot about you. You all see any other questions or see anything you want to delve into? I think we're good?
Ms. Burkett?
Yes.
Ms. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Kinter?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much. It's been a real pleasure. My bad.
What's this?
Recycling.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So
Oh.
moved.
Yes, okay. Don't we have staff minutes, staff comments? You got nothing? All right.
Okay.
Stack it up.
Recycling this one. Yeah, that's why I meant recycle.
You're sitting back there. Oh, you.